Alright guys, I am back yet again with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Dear Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we got version 1 of my Dark States Drajeweled deck. First Dark States deck I've done in a while, actually. But of course version 1 is everything through the first additional card pass, so through D-Booster Set 7. And this deck allows you to Soul Blast out 4 cards of different grades in order to reduce your opponent's Vanguard's power all the way down to 1 until the end of the turn, effectively strengthening all of your attacks. So, a very cool deck. And as usual, we will be going through the deck, and then we'll show it off in one card fight for you to see it in action. So, starting first with our Ride deck, we of course have our Grade 0 starter, which is Julius Draco Kid. So when it's rode upon, if you win second, draw a card. Standard D-Series starter. Next up, for the Grade 1, we have Jewel Core Dragon. So he has 2 auto abilities. First one says, when this unit is rode upon by Demonic Stone Dragon Jewel Neil, you call this card to Rearguard Circle. And then he has a second auto ability, when he's on Rearguard Circle, that says, when this unit attacks or boosts, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of that battle, and at the end of that battle you put this unit into your soul. So, very simple ability, allowing him to just call himself out from your soul when you ride over top of him, and then he gets to be a 13k body on your board for that one turn to either attack or boost. And then after he does so, you can put him right back into your soul in order to Soul Blast him out later for Drajeweled skill. So, very simple skill, but very effective. Next, for the Grade 2, we of course have Demonic Stone Dragon Jewel Neil. So he has an auto ability that's active on Vanguard or Rearguard Circle. That says, when this unit's attack hits a Vanguard, you Soul Charge 1. So, simple Soul Charge ability. And then he has a second auto ability that says, when this unit is rode upon by a unit with Drajeweled in his card name, you Soul Charge 1, and if your soul has 3 or more cards with different grades, you draw a card. So, from just your ride line alone, you should already have the 3 different grades into your soul by that point, so you should always get that draw. So, very good ability, just when you ride over top of him, you get a free draw and a free soul charge, guaranteed, helping build up both your hand and your soul resources. So then lastly for the Grade 3, we have Demonic Jewel Dragon Drajeweled. So first off, he has his activate ability that says, once per turn, you can counterblast 1 to Soul Charge 2, and if all of the cards Soul Charge have different grades, you may draw a card. So this is somewhat of a situational ability. This deck can get quite counterblast heavy, so sometimes you might have better uses for those counterblasts. The draw isn't guaranteed, since you do have to Soul Charge 2 different grades in order to get it. And of course it is a blind Soul Charge with no real way to manipulate it. So there is a very real possibility of Soul Charging 2 triggers or 2 grade 1s or whatever. So if that happens, you don't get that draw. You still do get the 2 soul out of it, so the counterblast isn't totally wasted, but you might not be able to take full advantage of this ability, while some of the other counterblast abilities in this deck may be more consistent about getting the draw skills off or increasing your hand advantage, and also allowing you to get potentially more specific cards into your soul instead of just a blind soul charge. So this ability can be occasionally useful, especially if you're really desperate for soul or you just have some excess counterblast to spare, but I am a bit more selective about when I choose to use this skill. But then he also has his auto ability, which is his main ability, that says, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, you can Soul Blast 4 cards with different grades to choose one of your opponent's Vanguards, and until end of turn, increase or decrease its power to 1, and if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, this unit gets critical plus 1. So, very, very cool skill, letting you set your opponent's Vanguard's power all the way to 1, And yes, that is 1, not 1k or anything, just 1. So basically this means that your opponent has to drop shield equal to whatever the power of the attack is in order to block it, which can be very devastating, especially since this deck can get up to 4 attacks, since it does have a restanding rearguard that we'll be going over later. So by decreasing their power, you're effectively strengthening all of your attacks for the rest of that turn, and potentially giving your Vanguard some extra crit pressure as well, assuming your opponent is at least at grade 3. So, very powerful skill. It does require you to have the 4 cards of different grades set up into your soul, but most of the cards in the deck are dedicated to getting your soul set up as you need it to be in order to use this skill every turn. So that is the ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First off, for the grade 3s, we do of course have our 3 additional copies of Drajeweled, double frame rare, of course, here for our Persona rides. Next up, we have 3 copies of Demonic Jewel Dragon Ristal Gaoler. So his auto ability says when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you Soul Blast 4 or more cards at the same time for the cost of your Vanguard's ability this turn, you can put a card from hand into your soul to draw a card and choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So pretty good skill, letting you hand filter while also gaining a soul resource, letting you get a specific card from your hand into your soul, can help, refuel the different grades in your soul that you'll need to use Drajeweled again the next turn, while also replacing that card with a draw, so you don't lose any card advantage, and also potentially taking out one of your opponent's rear guards as well. So, very cool skill. You do have to have Soul Blast 4 in that turn in order to use it, so you do want to attack with him after Drajeweled, of course, in order to get that ability. So then lastly for the grade 3s, we have 3 copies of Merciless Count Botus. So his auto ability says when you Soul Blast 2 or more at the same time for the cost of your card's ability, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn. And if you Soul Blast 3 or more at the same time, you can Counterblast 1 to choose a card from your drop, put it into your soul, then choose up to one of your opponent's rear guards with the same grade as that card and retire it. So this is a very helpful skill. When you use Drajeweled's ability, of course, again, you will trigger this since you'll be Soul Blasting 4. And it can help you put one of the cards from your drop that you Soul Blast out right back into your soul. So that effectively reduces Drajeweled's cost by a little bit. And again, helps you get reset up for next turn. Also potentially letting you have another control option to pick off one of your opponent's rear guards, assuming that they have a rear guard out of the same grade as the card that you put back. And of course he gains the power as well, even without paying the cost. So even if you don't have the Counterblast to use his ability, he'll still be an 18k body for that turn. So pretty cool card. This card is also involved in a pretty funny combo that we can do that I'll go through later when I do the grade 2s. But yeah, very helpful card for the deck. So that's all the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. First off, we have 4 copies of Demonic Stone Dragon Rock Argor. So he has 2 auto abilities. First of which says once per turn, when this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater unit, if your soul has 4 or more cards with different grades, this unit gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. Then additionally, his second auto ability says when you Soul Blast 4 or more cards at the same time for the cost of your Vanguard's ability, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can Counterblast 1 and stand this unit. So this is the restanding rearguard that I mentioned earlier, giving you a 4th attack every turn. He can also potentially be a 20k body on your board for potentially both of those attacks, as long as you have your soul set up before he attacks first. Which, since his restand requires you to Soul Blast 4 in order to trigger it, you of course have to attack with him once before Drajeweled attacked, and then use Drajeweled's attack to restand him. So, as long as you have that soul set up before then, you will get the power gain, and that power gain lasts until end of turn, so it will remain for his second attack. So just a very helpful card for the deck's offense, obviously giving you that extra attack every turn. Of course, made all the more dangerous by the fact that your opponent's Vanguard's power is weakened so much. So next up, we have 2 copies of Demonic Stone Dragon Motelvara. So he has an auto ability that says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle, you can counterblast 1 to choose a card from your drop, put into your soul. Then if your soul has 4 more cards with different grades, this unit gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. So another potential 20k beater to have on your board. Also allows you to gain another soul resource, putting anything you want from your drop into your soul. So you can specifically get a certain grade. If you're missing it from your soul, you can fish it out from your drop and set it up for Drajeweled skill. So he is another counterblast cost, but he is very helpful in both setting up your soul and having decent offense for that turn. Next, we have 2 copies of Ultrasound Siri. So her auto ability says when this unit is placed on rearguard circle from hand, you can counterblast 1 to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose a card from among them, put it into your soul, shuffle your deck, and if your soul has 4 more cards with different grades, you draw a card. So again, another option to set up your soul, letting you put 1 from the top 3 of your deck. Again, potentially helping you find a grade that you are missing. And if you do manage to get your soul set up, either through her skill or by just already having it set up before you even use her ability, you can potentially get a draw off of it as well. So you do want to try to make sure that you do have that soul set up to get the draw, since in that case this skill becomes a counterblast 1 for a +1, which of course is pretty much the standard. So again, just another good plussing card in order to help your card advantage while also getting your soul set up. So then lastly for the grade 2s, I am running 1 copy of the Blitz Order, Shining Selfishness. So you can play this with a Soul Blast 4, and it lets you choose one of your Vanguards, and it gets power plus 5,000 until end of that battle for each card in your damage zone. So this card is definitely a spicy tech, but I had to include at least 1 of it, because this card is the other half of the combo that I mentioned earlier that you can do with Botus. Since this card is a Blitz Order with a Soul Blast cost of 4, this card can actually trigger Botus' skill during your opponent's turn. Which means if you pay the counterblast cost and put 1 from your drop into your soul, you can actually retire one of your opponent's rearguards during their battle phase. Which is a hilarious thing to do, and there's not very many cards that can let you do something like that. So you could use this Blitz Order to block one of their attacks, while using Botus' skill to take out another rearguard, shutting down one of their other attacks before they can even make it. Or if the attack is too big for this card to block it, you can potentially retire the attacking unit as well, which of course will just cancel out the attack immediately. So there's multiple ways that this can be beneficial. Of course, if you potentially take out one of their restanding rearguards as well, you might be able to cancel out 2 of their attacks for that turn. So, very cool skill. It is kinda steep of a cost, with it being a Soul Blast 4. Of course, Botus' skill will allow you to get one of those souls right back into your soul, with his ability. So, you do want to be careful about when you use this. You don't want to screw yourself out of being able to use Drajeweled skill next turn. And of course, you will still need the 4 cards in your soul after you use Drajeweled skill during your last battle phase. So, if you don't have your soul set up enough at the end of your turn, you won't be able to use it at all. So, again, very situational card. You do have to have enough resources set up. You do have to have Botus out on your field in addition to this card. Otherwise, it's just at most a 25k shield, which isn't bad by any means. But to do the combo and destroy their offense, you do have to have the right setup ready to go. So, a very situational card, not vital for the deck by any means. If you'd rather run something else, feel free to take this out. But retiring one of your opponent's rearguards during their battle phase is just so hilarious that I couldn't pass up running this at least 1. So that's all the grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have 2 copies of Power Gem Dragon. So his auto ability says when this unit boosts, if you Soul Blast 4 or more cards at the same time for the cost of your Vanguard's ability this turn, you can Counterblast 1 to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card from among them, put it into your hand, and put the rest into your soul. So a semi-selective draw and soul charge ability. Again, you do have to use this after Drajeweled has attacked in order for the skill to be able to trigger. But it can let you check the top 2 to get 1 into your hand and 1 into your soul. So it is a Counterblast 1 for a +1, as well as gaining that extra resource, and since you get to look at the cards before you put them in, you can kind of choose which one you would rather have in soul and which one you would rather have in hand. So, very helpful ability. Next up, we have 4 copies of Falcate Performer. So its auto ability says when this unit boosts, you choose up to 1 card from your drop, and if your soul does not have a card with the same grade as that card, you put it into your soul. So this is one of the most important rear guards in the deck, letting you constantly recycle cards from your drop back into your soul. Any grade that is missing from your soul, this card can get it right back when it boosts. So if you put a copy of it behind Drajeweled and Soul Blast 4 out, then if any of those grades was a grade that you only had 1 of in your soul, then you can use Falcate to just put it right back. So effectively, again, reducing Drajeweled's cost, helping fuel that soul again for next turn. It's a very useful card for early game, since you're going to have not very many cards in your soul early game. A lot of grades will be missing, so you can potentially put things that you discarded for your ride deck directly into your soul. That's one of the best ways to get a grade 3 card into your soul, actually, to set up to be able to use Drajeweled skill on turn 3 before you're able to Persona Ride. And of course, if you get multiples of these out onto your board, you can potentially use each one's skill that turn to refuel multiple cards into your soul. So definitely one of the most vital cards in the deck, helping you get controlled soul charges from your drop zone in order to set up your soul properly. So next we have 2 copies of Avid Heaper. So his auto ability says when this unit boosts a grade 2 or greater, you may soul charge 1. So just a simple on boost soul charge ability. It of course is a blind soul charge, so you don't know what you'll get out of it. But just another simple way to have a renewable soul engine out on your board. He activates every turn, every time he boosts. So it's a way to keep refueling your soul, even if it is blind soul charges. It can be helpful in gaining those extra resources, especially if you go for the Shining Selfishness Botus combo as well. So our only other grade 1s are of course our Sentinels. So first off we have 3 copies of Recusal Hate Dragon, just your standard Perviguard. And then 1 copy of the Nationless Blitzorder Elementaria Sanctitude, which you can play without paying the cost if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So that's all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we just have our trigger lineup, which is 7 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting first with the crit triggers, we have 3 copies of Connected Rampage Clin, just your vanilla crit. Additionally, we have 4 copies of Stem Deviate Dragon, your crit with a skill. At the end of battle it boosted, you can put it into your soul to choose one of your units, and it gets power plus 2,000 until end of turn. So this is just another way to get a grade 0 back into your soul, if you are lacking them in your soul, in order to use Drajeweled skill again next turn. Next up, for the draws, we have 4 copies of Rouse Wildmaster Riley. So draw with a skill. If your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, gets shield plus 5,000. So your 10k shield draw trigger. And then for the heals, we have 4 copies of Caper Companion, which is just your vanilla heal. As always, if you prefer to run any of the effect heals, you can feel free to do so. So then lastly, our one over trigger is Hades, Dragon Deity of Resentment, Galmageheld. So his additional effect says you get, during your turn, all of your Vanguards get power plus 10,000, critical plus 1 until end of this fight. So grants a skill to the fighter, giving you basically a permanent crit trigger onto your Vanguard, which can be pretty devastating with this deck, considering your opponent's Vanguard's power is dropped to 1, and Drajeweled's already gaining a crit from his own ability. So he can be at a minimum of 23,003 crits, actually, against a 1 power Vanguard on your opponent's side. So that can, of course, be very, very threatening. So that is the deck, so we will go ahead and have our one fight with it. And let's see, we'll fight Rasen this time. And we will be going first. Alright, so I think I'm actually going to drop that Persona ride to ride Jewel Core, and they'll just end our turn. Which, unfortunately, they never did add Michiru to this game, so I am just playing as Yuki right now. But they did confirm Michiru is going to be in Dear Days 2 already, so that's pretty cool. And we'll let this one through. Oh, and he immediately pulls his over trigger. Alright, well that's going to be 2 crits, and he gets a draw off of it. But that's pretty much all, since he doesn't have anything to heal. And the power is wasted. And we get a crit trigger that is also wasted. Alright, so let's discard Siri, I guess. To ride Jewel Neil. And then Jewel Core will call himself out from the soul. So we'll go ahead and call Falcate Performer behind our Vanguard. So then I think I'll just go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first. And we'll use Falcate's ability to put a grade 3 from our drop into the soul. And this attack does hit, so we'll get the soul charge off of Jewel Neil's ability as well. And we soul charged a grade 0 at that time. So now we'll attack with Jewel Core. His ability will give him an extra 5k. And he guards. So now Jewel Core will return to our soul. So we've already got 1 of every grade in our soul, except for 2, which we'll get when we ride next turn. So we're already pretty much set up for Drajeweled's ability. And let's see, we'll let that one through. And we'll let that one through too. And we get a draw trigger, nice. Which his last rear guard wouldn't be able to hit us anyway. Alright, so let's discard Riley to ride Drajeweled. Jewel Neil skill. We'll let a soul charge and draw. So let's see, we will go ahead and call Rock our Gore over here. And then, let's see, we'll call Botis as well over here. And I think I am going to call Avid Heaper behind Rock our Gore. And since we got 4 damage already, we'll go ahead and use Drajeweled's ability to Counter Blast and Soul Charge too. And we did a grade 0 and a grade 3, so we will get to draw 1. And we drew Power Gem Dragon, so we'll pop him over there as well. And I think we are good. So, let's see, he's only a grade 2, so Rock our Gore won't be able to stand. But we will go ahead and attack with Drajeweled first. And we will use Drajeweled's ability to Soul Blast 4. So, 0, 1, 2, and 3. So their power is reduced to 1, and we don't get the crit because he's not at grade 3. But let me check my soul real fast. So we are missing grade 1 and grade 2 from our soul. So what we will do is we will go ahead and use Falcate Performer skill to put a grade 1 back into our soul. And then we'll use Botis's ability to gain 5k, and then Counter Blast, and we'll put a grade 2 into our soul, and now we can retire one of their grade 2 rear guards. So we will take out Fletcher, and we get a heal trigger, which we do get, so we will heal 1, and we will give that power to Rock our Gore. Oh, and then we pull our over trigger. Alright then. So we'll give that 100 million power to Botis. And our Vanguard will gain a crit as well. So this will hit for 2 damage. He gets a draw trigger, which puts him to 10,001. Alright, so now we can attack with Rock our Gore, boosted by Avid Heaper. And we'll go ahead and use Heaper's ability to Soul Charge. Soul Charge to heal. But we wouldn't have got it anyway. So then we can attack with Botis, boosted by Power Gem. And use Power Gem skill to Counter Blast. And now we can check the top 2 and put one of these into hand and one into our soul. So let's put this Persona Ride into our hand to set up for next turn. And Siri goes to our soul. So we got him to 5 damage. We have 8 cards in our soul. And he does not have Radilena set up, so he's just going to attack us with a bunch of plant tokens. So we just need 5 to block that, so we'll guard with Mattelvara. And we'll let that one through. He gets a draw trigger. But we get a crit trigger. So let's see, we'll give that to Rock Our Gore actually. And I think I'm actually going to let that through just to have the extra damage. Alright, so thanks to that over trigger, we do get an extra 10k and crit to our Vanguard. And now we can Persona Ride. So let's see, I think we are already set up. We've got one of every grade in our soul already. So that is good to go. So I am not going to use Drajeweled's activate skill, and instead I'm just going to attack with Rock Our Gore first. And we'll use Rock Our Gore's ability to gain an extra 10k. And I'm actually not gonna soul charge with Avid Heaper right now. And he perfect guards. So then we can attack with Drajeweled. And use Drajeweled's ability to Soul Blast our 4 different grades. So 3, 0, 1, and 2. So its power is reduced to 1, and we gain a crit this time. So we'll use Falcate's skill to put a grade 1 back into our soul. And we'll go ahead and use Botus as well to gain 5k, Counter Blast, and put a grade 2. So that'll let us take out Prod Pollen. And then Rock Our Gore, let us Counter Blast, and restand. And he perfect guards, which has 41,003 crit, so he had to block that. Alright, so now we can attack with Botus, boosted by Power Gem. And Power Gem skill lets us Counter Blast again to check the top 2. And we will put the Perfect Guard into our hand. Oh, and he's got to lay it through. And we got him with that one, alright. So there you go, that was my Drajeweled deck. Pretty cool deck. So I will be back soon with more deck profiles. I believe next up I'll be doing my Velstra product deck. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.